Welcome. I feel like I'm in Madison Square Garden or something here. So welcome to the event here. We have Gavin here today. Thanks for coming, Gavin. He just swam here, I think, to get here. This event is sponsored by Olympus and Sakonic, who actually has Paul over there if you guys want to see them after, and Flashpoint. So thanks you guys for bringing Gavin to us. He's going to do a great presentation today. Without further ado, Gavin Hoey.
Yay. All right. Thank you, Daniel. Right. Evening, everybody. Is there an audience here? Evening, everybody. So we're live streaming this on the internet, so I don't know when the internet audience can pick up this, but there is a pretty much full house here. So thank you very, very much for coming along this evening and joining me for this little presentation. I have to thank, obviously, Adorama for putting this whole thing on. They've done a fantastic job. This is a great location. This is also being brought to you by Flashpoint, Adorama's in-house lighting brand. Olympus Cameras. I'm an ambassador for Olympus Cameras, and they're helping to put this on. And Sakonic, Paul, for those that are in the room with us over there from Sakonic, is here to answer your questions, and you'll see me do a little bit of that in a little while. So for those that weren't here for my earlier talk and don't know me, hello. For the internet, hello. My name's Gavin Hoey. I'm a full-time professional photographer, photographic educator. I make occasional videos for a little YouTube channel. Anyone heard of Adorama TV? Woohoo! So I've been doing that for the last 4 years, and it's just the best job ever. I love working with Adorama TV. And, well, this talk is entitled Lighten Up. So this is a long form. If you're watching this on the live stream, this is sort of an hour and a half. If you're here, I'm afraid you're here for about an hour and a half. You can't skip through. But you guys get to ask me questions, which is kind of good. So I'm going to start off with a little kind of information about what this talk is about, because if you were here earlier, very different to the one we did earlier. Lighten Up is the name of the talk, and it's a talk that combines a few things. It involves some photography tips, because we're going to do some actual live, real photography. It involves some Photoshop hints, because we're going to do a little bit of post-processing as we go through. And it is absolutely live. What could possibly go wrong? So if you were here earlier, you know that absolutely nothing went wrong on the last one, did it? My computer didn't crash, everything was just fine. So everything will be fine, I'm sure we'll be okay. So, my favorite word. So because it's live, there's a couple of things you might need to know. That's wrong, isn't it? Things might go wrong. Things will go wrong. It's live. When they do, just give me a little bit of breathing space. I'll do some fixing and we'll get it back up and running again, I'm sure. You might learn something. That would be good. In fact, my goal is to get you all to go home at the end of this having learnt one thing. Okay, that's kind of my goal. One thing that's all you need for an evening out. If you can go away with one thing, it's worth coming and spending the time with me. So Lighten Up is the title, and when I came up with the title, I didn't come up with the title. My wife, who sadly can't be here, she's back home in the UK. I don't know which camera's on. Hi, Sam. It's 11:30 at night, bless her. So you can go to bed now, that's it. So that's fine. So she came up with the title, and it's great because it really drove the ideas behind this. Because lighten up means many different things. It means to become lighter in weight. It means to become brighter and less dark. But the meaning that I think has most importance at the moment, lighten up, become more cheerful, less gloomy. Lighten up. Yeah, does that translate into New York speak? Lighten up a bit, or is that just the UK? Okay, because there's plenty of stuff to be gloomy about if you really try. There's loads and loads of things. So for the next hour and a bit, we're not going to do anything gloomy. We're going to lighten up. It's all going to be good fun. I'm going to break down the other two just very briefly. Become lighter in weight. So for many, many years, I used Canon cameras, and I love my Canon cameras. I used them and loved them so much that eventually they just stopped working. I mean, they don't bounce. That's probably didn't help. But the camera was great. I switched over to Olympus about 2.5 years ago, and I've been using Olympus ever since. Full disclosure, I am an Olympus ambassador back in the UK. They call them visionaries in the US. Yeah, we're mere ambassadors in the UK. So I'm an Olympus user, but really, that doesn't matter. I'm a photographer. That's more important. Because the camera you currently have, honestly, it's amazing. It really is. My first camera, back in time, my first camera was a Praktica MTL5B. Anyone have one of them? Film camera? It was brilliant. It said electronic on the front of the camera, and the electronic bit was a little meter inside, a little needle. The camera, well, it was the only camera I've ever owned where the battery lasted longer than the camera. Got rid of the camera, the battery was perfect. Imagine that, never recharging your camera. So that was a pretty good camera. And if I could take reasonably good pictures with that, then, you know, what can you do with yours? Basically, any camera where you can control the ISO, shutter speed, and aperture, or even just see what they are, is a great camera. Because as photographers, those are the things we need to know to understand what's going on with our camera and our exposure. It's called the exposure triangle. Heard that before? Yeah. There's a brilliant, if you've never come across it, there's a brilliant video on Adorama TV. My good friend Mark Wallace did the definitive exposure triangle video. Go check it out. He really did do the definitive one. It was excellent. So I'll refer back to that as we go through this evening. Okay, what was the other one? Lighter, less dark. So we need light. Photographers, light is our medium. Okay, there are things that we need, and the most important one is light. If we don't have any light, we don't have any photos. It's that simple. Light comes in all sorts of different forms. My favorite one is the free one that's up in the sky. Not today, I noticed, in New York. Pretty hard to spot the sun. Did the tornadoes happen? I know. I come to New York, all the exciting weather of London plus tornadoes. It's great. So the sun, I had sun as my most commonly used one, but there's lots of other ways we can generate light in the pictures. Okay? So sun is fine, but it's not much use when you're indoors. There are ways that we can produce it that are safer than others, and this talk does come with a health and safety warning. Danger. Always wanted to do a talk with the word danger at the beginning. Danger. This talk contains fire, and sparks will fly. I may have overemphasized it, but nonetheless, we have to do a little sort of safety thing. When I'm doing this talk, usually I carry a fire blanket around. I don't need one because there's a fire extinguisher right over there next to Daniel. Daniel, have you ever used anything like this before?
No, but the gentleman has, and he said he's good.
Awesome. Okay, that's good. If you've ever used a fire blanket, this is the way it should be used. Use fire blankets just like a reflector. Just bounce the fire away. That's what it shows in the picture. I found a few pictures on the internet when I was looking for advice on how to put out fires that troubled me. I found this picture quite troubling. Because if I'm in a room full of photographers, there's a chance that person on fire will be me, and this is going to be you guys, isn't it? Okay, so that is not to happen. Under no circumstances are you to photograph me if I'm on fire. And if I catch fire, please turn the live stream off, or at least skip it forward if you're watching. We should be, however, we should be fine. The size of the flame isn't exactly going to, that's not life size, by the way, that is. But it's going to be fun. Lighten up. So we're going to start with low-tech lighting. There is a part 1 and a part 2, but they're going to seamlessly blend together tonight. And part 2, we're going to do some flash stuff. And we're going to do some portraits, because I love doing portraits. And I have lined up a top model for this. Well, it's Daniel. Basically, it's going to be Daniel. So, yeah, if you stayed around, because I said earlier that we have a special model, yeah, he's special. So that will be, he's no idea what he's let himself in for, he really hasn't. But that's going to be fun. That could well be one of the most entertaining things we've ever streamed live on Adorama. So, back to the talk. What am I going to shoot? Well, bearing in mind where I am, I'm in New York. It is a photographer's dream here. Unfortunately, I've kind of got this grey background, so it's slightly less exciting than perhaps it was. So I have to photograph things that are on the stage. Can't really take you all outside. That would have been nice, though. So the sorts of things we're going to photograph are going to be things that I can fit in this area here. So if you're a landscape photographer or a wildlife photographer, I'm not going to be doing wildebeest roaming the tundra. I don't do either of those two subjects. I don't know whether that's right. But they will hopefully be interesting things. They won't be award-winning, because this is live, but hopefully they will be interesting and educational. Okay. Oh, that's the end of the PowerPoint. That's a good sign. Let's close that down. Hang on. And we're going to kick off with the photography. So let's load everything up. Now, I'm going to be live tethering with this. So we need to change a few things around that I forgot to change. What we need is my camera bag, which is over there. Okay, so I'm using Olympus cameras. I'm using the Olympus EM1 Mark II for the shooting. And I'm going to switch from the lens we were using earlier, which was the 40-150mm lens, which is great for portraits. And I need your help with your tripod. I've borrowed Daniel's tripod. Yeah, that's fun, isn't it? Okay, have you got a coin? Marvelous. What is it? It's a quarter, isn't it? £2. £2? Isn't that a weight? Okay, that's yours, and that's yours, but don't go far, because I'm going to need that back. Okay. I'm switching from the 40-150 to my go-to Olympus lens. The one that I pick up most often is the 12-40mm lens, which, if you're a full-frame shooter, do you want to pop that on there? There we go. Is the equivalent of a 24-80mm f2.8. It's the lens that I first bought when I started with Olympus, and I thought it was going to be welded permanently to the front of my camera because I used it so much. Okay, there we go. Good. That sounded promising, didn't it? Okay, let's make sure we haven't pulled that out, and we're back to tethered shooting. Right, okay, so first thing I need to do is to make sure that this all works. Tethered capture, what could possibly go wrong? Not a lot, it should be okay. So, yeah, we're in the right mode. I'm going to take a test shot. Okay, brilliant, there you go. Well, that worked. So in that case, as it's worked, I think I'm going to say, well, thank you for coming. We'll stop there. Can I do that? Is that okay? I think that's enough, isn't it? That should do. Yeah, they probably skipped on the live stream already, haven't they? They've paused it. Okay, so it works. And for the live stream viewers, I really do have an audience. Right, so everything works. That's great. So the first thing we're going to photograph is something kind of small, something simple, the sort of thing that you're going to have around the house. And it's going to be a tiny little candle, little tea light candle, which is kind of fun. I like candles. Candles are pretty. Now, what I hadn't bargained for is the sheer brightness of the lights that are in here. I don't know if we can turn those off, but we'll have to live with them, I suspect. But the idea is we're going to photograph this. Now, I have an assistant to help me with this. I have the wonderful Daniel Norton. Do you want to come on up? Give him a round of applause. Was your round of applause bigger than mine? No. No, good. We don't have massive egos, do we, at Adorama? So, Andrew, what Daniel's going to do is, I don't know where that came from. It's going to hold my tea light.
I am going to hold it.
Okay, and we're going to photograph that. Now, that might not sound exciting, but the photography is a funny old thing. By the way, I should point out, we're going to start with basic stuff, and then hopefully we'll get more and more complicated and advanced as we go through. So let's just take a picture of that. Here we go. I'm in aperture priority mode. I'm wide open at f2.8. I'll take a shot, and we end up with that. Now, as photographers, we all make mistakes, and we learn that way. The more mistakes you make, the more you learn. I've learnt an awful lot, all of the time. Yeah, so one of the mistakes that we make, and I learned the hard way, is the shots that you take not really going close enough to the thing you want people to see. just trying to get everything in. I've been guilty of it walking around the streets here in New York. The place is vast. I want to get everything in. Sometimes what you want to do is just focus down to something smaller. Give your viewer an idea of what it is you want them to look at. So if I zoom in and I go closer, okay, I can start to tell a story that's more useful, that it says, okay, what we want someone to do is see hands and a candle. Okay, that's quite good. Next thing to think about is the backgrounds on your pictures. Daniel, can you hold it higher for me? Okay, that's great. I'll take the same shot. If I just move it a little bit higher, can you see how it looks different to how it did before? The background now has a lot more detail going on. And in that case, it detracts from the thing that I want you to look at. I want you to look at the hands and the candle if it was in focus. Instead, you're looking at Daniel's T-shirt, trying to read what it says. Doesn't say anything, does it? No. Okay. So think about your backgrounds. Think about going in close and telling the story. Okay, let's go back in close and just prove I can take an in-focus picture. Because I can occasionally. Okay, that's pretty good. So much more simple that way around. So you've thought about moving in close, you've thought about the backgrounds. The next thing to think about is the light in your shot. We have a ton of different lights going on here. This is lighting nightmare when you're doing ambient light. But in the shot here, it's a candle that's not lit. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Okay, I don't think I'm going to set fire to anything. Okay, I'm just going to pop that in your hand. Whew, the danger of it all. I'm feeling the danger. Okay, we'll leave the lights on just for a second before you turn them down. I know, that was quite moody, wasn't it?
I thought I was fainting.
Everything was going dark. Okay, so this is the shot with the room lights, the ambient light in the room. And what we have is mixed lighting. We have very bright lights, which are really illuminating the picture, and a light source, which is being lost to that really bright light. Now, I don't know if it is possible to dim the lights all the way down just for 1 second. Okay, that's great. Lovely. Will they go any lower? That's it. Okay. Well, that's better than it was before. I will take anything better than nothing. Okay? Brilliant. We have the lights back up again. Okay? They're going back down in a second. Whoever's on this, you got a job there. It's going to be up and down. Okay, so when we dim the lights down, we start to get a little bit more of the candle adding to the exposure of the image, and the background is starting to drift out. Now, in an ideal world, we'd turn all the lights off, but then you guys wouldn't see anything if you're watching on the live stream, so that's probably not a good idea. However, I look at that picture, and I look at the candle, and I wonder, is that the correct exposure? I'm shooting in aperture priority mode. I'm shooting wide open, f2.8. I'm shooting at ISO 400. The camera is making a few decisions, and the exposure is being set by the camera. But that doesn't mean to say that it's correct. So if we have the lights back down where we were before, marvelous. I've got something on this camera called exposure compensation. You've all got exposure compensation. Even my phone's got exposure compensation. If I dial in -1, I'm saying to the camera, okay, you are just a bit too bright for my taste. And whilst I'm going, let's dial in -2. Because it's easy, okay? You can just do it. Brilliant, okay, that's well done. That is good candle work there, Daniel. Thank you for that. We can have the lights back up again. We are done with the candle. You can stand there if you like, or you can put the candle down. It's entirely up to you. Tell you what, you can keep it as a memento. I know, I'm so generous. I don't want to take it home on the plane. I honestly brought them with me. It's like New York doesn't have candles. What am I thinking? Anyway, so we've got 3 shots that I've just taken. We've got 1, and we have, there we go, 2, and I have 3. 1, 2, and 3. 3 different exposures. Out of these 3 pictures, which one of those 3 is the correct exposure? I'll throw it open to the room. So that's 1, 2, or 3. Which one's the correct one? Ah, I see. New Yorkers are smart, aren't they? They're smart, clever people. Yeah, it depends, doesn't it? Photography is science, but what we're using it for is art. So there isn't a right and a wrong. There is what you like and what you don't like. I like number 2, I think was the one I want to go for. That's the one I want to choose. So if you said number 2, you were correct. Because it's my picture. If it was your picture and you preferred number 3, then you'd be correct and I would be wrong. That's how it works. And it's absolutely fine. That's photography. We choose pictures based on our preferences. Nobody can tell you that you've got it right or wrong. Well, that's not true. They can tell you, but they can't be right. It's your shot, so you make those decisions. Okay, so let's do a quick edit on that picture. Let's come out of that and go find the shot. And it was number 2 that I preferred. I'm shooting it with RAW. I'm using Photoshop as my editing tool of choice. If you are a Lightroom user, then this would be the same in Lightroom. Actually, a little show of hands. How many of you use Lightroom as your go-to tool? Okay. What about Photoshop? Any Photoshop users? Okay, so about 50-50 split. Anybody use anything other than Lightroom and Photoshop nowadays as your go-to? Yeah, there's a few of you. Interesting that, isn't it? Yeah, that's good to see that there's a nice mix. So Photoshop is my go-to tool. I like to use it for quick editing because I can bring my images in, edit them, and then get on with something else. Lightroom I use when I'm doing a large batch of pictures and they all need editing and all need exporting, then I will use Lightroom as my editing tool. So what I think I'm going to do with this shot is I'm going to make it black and white. And the easiest way to make it black and white is to come right down to the bottom where there's a line here that says saturation. I can just drop the saturation down and it goes black and white. Now there are better ways to do black and white, and when we get to the portrait side of things, I'll show you a much better way to do black and white. That's nice, but it's not my favorite slider here in Photoshop. My favorite slider is one that's called, clarity. Someone's watched too many of my videos. Clarity. I love clarity. In fact, I have a very slight clarity addiction. Have we got any other clarity addicts in at all? You're in good company. It's fine. It's okay to be addicted to clarity. I do like it. Some people ask me, how far should you push clarity? Okay, so, there's a theory that maybe you shouldn't go past 50. Some people say, no, you can go up to 70. I don't know if you've noticed, but the slider goes to 100. Now, I can't speak for Adobe, but I'm pretty sure if it wasn't meant to go to 100, they wouldn't have let you do it. They'd have stopped it at 70 or 50. But it goes to 100, and that's where I'm going to put it, because it adds some real texture and grime to this image. Daniel, I apologize. That's not your hands anymore. It's now somebody else's hands. But that adds some real texture to the image. Okay, so if you're doing portraits, you don't do this. But if you're doing hands... Well, we may do it. We'll see. But if you're doing hands or something like that and you want to enhance the texture, it's a really great way of bringing up the texture. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm kind of happy with that. And certainly compared to where we started with the first shots, it's the same thing. We've just changed a few things in our photography. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, I don't know if there are any questions. I should stop and ask for questions. Are there any questions? Yes. I'm shooting in, good question. Question was, what mode am I shooting in? I'm shooting in aperture priority mode. So that's A on this camera, AV if you're using a Canon camera. And I'm letting the camera do the heavy lifting for me. Okay, let's dive in and try something. Oh, this one. Okay, question, why did I decide to use aperture priority over manual? There's no right or wrong with it. If the camera does the job on aperture priority mode, that's where I'll leave it. It's convenience, and that's what I shoot. We will get to manual, though, as we move through this talk. We're starting off fairly simple, hopefully, and then we'll get more complicated. Okay, so that's kind of nice. I like that. So let's come out of that and jump back into there. So that's nice. I like that quite a lot. And the little lighter, I used a small Zippo lighter. I don't smoke, I never have, I never will. But I found these things absolutely beautiful. As mechanical items, they are rather attractive. And I thought, yeah, there's photographic potential in this. And then I found something in my house that really made that come to life. All the way from the UK, I have a bit of timber. Look at that. That is British timber, that is. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I really did bring it with me. That's quite sad now I say it out loud. Anyway, I looked at this. This is actually skirting board. It's supposed to go around the outside of the house. We had a little bit of home building done, and I bought this to go around the extension, except I couldn't put it on because it turns out this isn't skirting board, this isn't timber. This is a thing of beauty, photographic beauty. I could see, basically, I didn't want to put it up and my wife kept telling me to, so I had to take some pictures with it. So we're going to photograph that, and I'm going to need a little bit of help with your tripod, Daniel, because you can make it do things. Does it go horizontally? It does? Okay. Normally Dave does this. Oh, you're my backup Dave. There you go, look at that. Dave's out of a job. Look at that, that's flipping amazing, perfect. Yeah, I'm impressed. Okay, so we have a piece of wood. I can't say that, sorry, that's British. I have a bit of timber. I got in so much trouble once. Good job we're not live streaming this. And I have a Zippo lighter. Okay. And I'm going to photograph it, and hopefully you'll get to see in a second what it was that I was looking at and thinking, yeah, this is good. Okay, so let's just step aside, and we'll take the shot. Okay, can you see what it was that caught my eye? Okay, I looked at this and I realized it's the wrong way up. Yeah, you can figure that out. I looked at this and I thought, oh, yeah, I can see a picture there. That little bit of knot in the wood looks like a flame. And if it's a flame, then I can get this little Zippo lighter and we can start to create art. That's a little pretentious, but I liked the photo. So I snapped that quite happily, and then I did everything that we do as photographers. Yeah, that's great, done that. I looked at the camera and I accepted it for what it was. It's not until you get it back on a bigger screen that you start to see the flaws, the downside, the little errors. For example, if I had a little look at this, it's lovely and sharp on the knot of wood. But when we get here, it's not sharp. Okay? Now I'm using Olympus cameras which have a micro 4/3 sensor. The micro 4/3 sensor is great. It has more depth of field. At any given aperture, you get more depth of field. And that's a good thing normally. But even on f2.8, it's not enough depth of field because I'm very close to my subject. So what sort of aperture number do you think I might need to get all of this in focus? Anyone want to shout out some numbers? 5, 6, 8? Any higher on 8? 11? Hey, you guys are good at your F numbers. That's really good. Yeah, basically, the bigger the number, the bigger the depth of field. That's how it works. Big F number, big amount in focus. If you stick to that, you'll be fine. So let's go for F11. Let's do F11. That sounds like a good number to me. I can just dial that in, F11, and we'll take a shot at F11, and you'll see that it's much, much sharper at F11. That didn't go to plan, did it? So why isn't it sharper at F11? Well, think back to the exposure triangle. Okay, on aperture priority mode, I'm setting my aperture. I'm setting my ISO, and I'm setting my... No, I'm not. That's the thing, isn't it? The camera is setting the shutter speed. So when I set the aperture and the ISO, the only thing that the camera's got left to change is the shutter speed. And it shot up to, well, I don't know how long it was, but it was long enough. To be fair to the Olympus system, it has a brilliant image stabilization built in, and to be fair to the camera tripod manufacturer, their tripod is very solid, so I actually had to shake it. So a little bit of cheating there, but that's not unusual to get a little bit of camera shake when you use a smaller aperture. Now, to get around it, I need to step away from the camera when I take the shot, but I can't press the shutter because that's going to shake it as well. A remote release would be a really good investment. If you don't have a remote release, use the self-timer. So my camera has a choice of 12 seconds and 2 seconds. Well, I can change that in the menu, but 2 seconds is perfect. Let's just press the button, step away, let it take the shot, and hopefully it should now be much sharper. Okay, so that's pretty good. And now it should be sharp right the way through. We can see the writing. We can see that's nice and sharp. Okay, so bigger depth of field worked really well. So that's kind of nice. Next thing is about lighting. Now, I'm going to have a little rummage through here because I think I've left something aside. I had a torch earlier, and now, for the life of me... Oh, there it is. Don't panic. So the lighting on that shot is the room lighting. It is the lighting that we've got in here. And you can see how many shadows are coming off of that. That's not good. That's just really complicated. So lighting, if you can control the light in your picture, you can control how the picture looks and feels. Now, if you're on light monitor duty, I'm going to need you to turn the light back down again because I have my own. Single one would be nice. There we go. Okay, so I've got my own little torch, little LED torch. If it was dark enough, you could use the LED on your phone. You could buy LEDs. Adorama sell a great range of LED lighting. And LEDs, fantastic. But what it allows me to do is it allows me to move around and change the light, okay, which isn't easy to do when the sun is your light source or these massive kinos are your light source. But it's much easier to do when I have light source of my own. Okay, let's do it wrong first of all. So the black line is a shadow from my tether cable. So you need to watch where the light goes. And I'm going to look at the light and see if I can just find a great little angle. Okay, let's come in here. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm looking at the light. I'm playing with the light direction. I'm moving it around, just trying to get a little bit of highlights just there. That's great. That's fantastic. Okay, so I can change my lighting position and change the shot. Let's just do a quick edit on that. Let's go find that image. Here it comes. There we go. Lovely. So that's the one I want to edit. First thing I need to do is to spin it around because it's facing in the wrong direction. It was meant to be that way up. Oh yeah, you can put the lights back up again, sorry. That's kind of nice. I should have just moved it. I'm slightly off, but that'll do, that's fine. Clarity obviously is going to be my friend. See what happens to the Made in the USA sign. See how it brings up the brushed texture when I increase the clarity. So clarity has been my favorite slider for some time, but there's a new favorite on the horizon, one that's challenging clarity for the title of my favorite slider. Now, it is a Photoshop and Lightroom CC thing, so you do need the latest version, but it's here. It's called Dehaze, under FX for effects. Dehaze. Okay, so dehaze is becoming my new favorite. It's a thing that you can use on its own, or you can use it in one of the local adjustments, such as the radial filter. So with the radial filter, I can select dehaze, and we'll put it down to its minimum amount, and I can just drag out a little kind of radial effect, but that's not what I want. Have a little look at these sliders. It's a little sort of Photoshop tip here. Can you see how the slider for dehaze is sort of hazy at one end and crispy at the other end? This is to guide you as to what these sliders actually do. Notice the same for the saturation. Colorful at one end, monochromatic at the other. It's subtle things that Adobe have put in to try and sort of give you a clue what these sliders do. I want to go the other way. Okay? If I go the other way, what I end up with is this lovely kind of burnt feeling. I can move my burnt feeling around. Now, dehaze is designed to cut through hazy landscapes, those sort of misty days. It also, just by chance, gives this lovely burnt texture as well, without the need to damage a lovely piece of skirting board, which I've got to take back to the UK and pin to the wall. Yeah. Marvelous. Any questions at all? Yes, it's in Lightroom as well. So go check out. And again, it's under the local adjustments and under the effects panel. Okay, smash in. Right, so let's plug on then. So that was kind of fun, but that really wasn't why I bought a Zippo lighter. I bought it because I thought that it would make a great action sequence. So the action of lighting a Zippo is very organic. It just has a lovely feel to it. There is a striker that when you strike it causes sparks. And if you're really lucky, it will light. I feel like the world's worst magician. Ooh, I've made fire. It took me so long. Yeah, I don't use it very often. You get that feeling, don't you? It hasn't been used much. Yeah, first time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to photograph that sequence as an action sequence, striking and lighting. That's the plan. Now, to make that happen, I'm going to do a few things, but I'm also visualizing the final picture. And my visualization of this is it's going to be a triptych. Anyone know what a triptych is? Yep, 3 images with a connecting theme. This is the connecting theme, that are all displayed together. Sometimes on one sheet, sometimes 3 mounted pictures. That's the idea. Now, Daniel, I need some help from you. I need that put back the way it was before. I'm taking notes on how you did it.
This is the tricky part.
Look at that. There was a button and something, and
You may not get it back.
that's...
Don't worry, we're not live or anything.
No, we're not streaming this live at all. It's fine. And if this is the worst thing that happens, we've done all right. Okay, that's great. Next thing I need to do is get this a bit lower. I can do that bit. Let's grab those, make that lower. We probably need to go lower still. Ooh. Okay. Well, that way. Okay, that's great. And then I need to put this the other way up. So my triptych, 3 images of the Zippo lighting, and I think they're going to work best as 3 vertical images. So I've switched my camera over to a vertical format. So I then need to set this up. So I'm going to photograph this, and I apologize, it is quite small. It's tiny. The video guys might be able to get it for the live streamers. You guys, it's a Zippo. Okay. And I'm going to come and put my head right in the way whilst I frame this up. Now, a few moments spent getting this right will reap rewards in the long run. Okay, so getting this right in camera now is a good idea. Believe it or not, we've got to go lower still. That's pretty good. And we're nearly there. And then having gone lower, I now need to go higher. Don't you just love using tripods? I genuinely love what tripods do. They really, really do improve your photography. You just need to put the time into them. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Right, okay, so we've got our basic set there. I'll take a picture so we can pop it on the screen. We're still on a 2-second self-timer. That's probably not going to work for me. Let's pop that on There you go, so you can see what I see. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. So a 2-second self-timer is not good because we're going to do an action sequence. So what sort of camera setting do I want to use for action photography? Yeah, high speed maybe, yeah? Some sort of continuous shooting. Pro Capture, there's an Olympus user. Yeah, Pro Capture, maybe if it was an optimal moment. The Olympus EM1 Mark II can shoot 60 frames per second in full RAW. 60. Can you imagine how long that would take to get to my laptop? Okay, so we're not going to do that. We're going to limit it just to 10 frames a second. I think that's ample. So we'll go with 10 frames a second, which is low. Okay, that's pretty good. So that's fine. Now, somebody else will err about whether I'm going to be in aperture priority mode. I'm going to switch to manual mode for this because we need to photograph a flame that doesn't exist yet. Okay, so I'll switch into manual mode, and I'm going to change my settings. I'm going to go with a shutter speed of 1/80th of a second, and then I'm going to go with, let's go with f4. Okay, take a picture like that. Let's see what we get. Oh, it's really bright in here, isn't it? Is it possible to have the lights down again? Lovely. We'll see if we can light this. I'll get through the flint before it lights, I think, if I'm more. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Okay. Marvelous. I'm so close to it, I'm blocking the light. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so the camera is set. Now, what I need to do is I've got to hold this because it will move. I've got to strike it, and then I've got to fire the camera with my third hand. Okay. We could do that. We could do that. We could, or I could get someone to help. Now, we've got a room full of helpers, but, well, Daniel's here. Come and help me, Daniel. I don't know if my wife is still watching. It's not just me that trips over stuff. I have a reputation for falling over everything. Okay, so what Daniel's going to do is he's going to take the pictures by using the remote control. So we're tethered. We're tethered into the Olympus Capture software, which is taking a live feed from my camera, and it really is live. Okay, so it really is live. And we can get Daniel to take the pictures. Now, I need to put it into its setting. It is in, that's fine. Yep, there you go. So there's a button right here, Daniel. That is the take the picture. Yeah, the one that looks like a camera is the one that takes the picture. I know, it's good, isn't it? It's complicated. I'll tell you when. Don't go yet, because I've got to set this up, because I've just bashed it, and we'll move things around. I'm also going to go for manual focus, because I don't really want this to go in and out of focus, so we'll manually focus this up a little bit. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay. Right. Let's try and make this happen. Okay, now, my fingers are in the shot. Whoa, hold on. I can see you. Okay, and let's take a, hang on, it's a funny light, so once it's going, we're okay. Right, are you ready, Daniel? In your own time, press and hold. Okay, stop. Now, there's no shortage of memory on this card, so I reckon we can go again. Are you ready? Go for it. Okay, and stop. And we'll do one more for luck. Ready? Go for it. Okay. Right, now that was a lot of pictures, so we now have to wait quite some time for those to come down the line. Anyone been on their holidays lately? Okay, how are we doing? Okay, I think no, it's still going. Could I have set the timer is the question. I could. I think I'd have. What you can't do with the timer is set this to do a sequence of shots, as far as I know. So if someone wants to tell me otherwise, that would be great. But the sequence, yeah, is a little bit trickier. Now, Daniel effectively took these pictures, so if they're not very good, However, if they are amazing, then of course they are mine. That's kind of how it works, isn't it? Okay, so we got a sequence of pictures. Good job. Good job. Okay, and we're looking for that action sequence. So we're looking for the action of them lighting, and then the thing actually kind of looking like a flame. And I think we've got more than enough there to do that. Yeah, there's more coming in. Just when you think that's, okay, let's just go with these three. Let's take that one, we'll go with that one, and we'll have that one. So those are the three images that I want to process. Let's bring those out of Bridge, and we'll bring them into Camera Raw. Now, I've got to make sure that I do the same thing to every picture, because we've shot them the same. They were in manual mode. Now we need to process them the same. Now, if I was to do one picture at the moment, I would then have to do the next and the next. But there is a little secret button. Up here in the top corner, you'll see a very small set of 4 lines. And you'll see this all over Photoshop. It's over on this side as well. Look, there's one over there as well. Whoops, it's dropped off your screen. Hold on. We're having technical gremlins. I told you there'd be technical problems. Are you guys getting my feed from my laptop? No. Hold on. Let's move a cable around slightly. Okay. How about now? Yes. Okay. Cable issues, I think. Okay, so that's fine. There's a small button. There's another similar button over in this corner here. This is like the secret Adobe symbol. They've put this in. Where you see this is like Adobe's secret panels they don't want you to know about. This one up here has a secret panel that when you click on it, pops out something that says select all. Okay, so you can select them all. So look out for that little set of lines. It used to have spots and lines, and then the spots disappeared. And I've wondered why. These things keep me awake at night. So that's fine. We're going to do a little bit of editing here. Obviously, I'm going to put some clarity into that shot, and that's a given, isn't it? I maybe just pull the highlights back ever so slightly. I'm going to crop these as well. I'm going to crop it down to a 16:9. I kind of like this long, tall format for my triptychs. And because I've got my finger in the way, I might have to go a little tighter than I would like. But let's go with that. And you can see that all of the images are connected. So anything I change here will be repeated on all of the images simultaneously. Okay, so everything changes when you move the sliders around on all 3 images at the same time. Okay, let's just open up the images. It is images plural, which is just off my screen there. And all 3 images will now open up. This is where it's a test of 2 things. This tests the speed of your computer and your patience. Okay, that's not too bad. That was all right. Okay, so we've got the 3 images that I now want to make a triptych out of. So that means doing some Photoshop work to create a blank image and then make 3 placeholders, and that's going to take ages. No one's going to watch that on the live stream. Good news is you don't have to. I run a little website called gavtrain.com, and on my website we have a whole bunch of actions and templates, including triptych actions and templates. So we have some that are commercially available and some that are free. So let's just go and load a triptych action. So an action is a recording of Photoshop steps. And I do it like this. I've got the Actions panel open. I'm going to go and find my actions. Here they are. It's a bit hard to spot them, isn't it? This is the new icon from Adobe. I love that. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop them onto Photoshop. Let's just make sure it's on screen, easier to see. There we are. I'm going to drop them onto the Actions panel, drag and drop, and that's it. I've loaded my Photoshop actions in. Now, this one has a whole bunch of different things. Let's choose one at random. Let's go from one in the middle. And what the action does is it makes a blank document, and then it fills that with 3 placeholders that are perfectly sized for the image, and then it goes and puts the 3 images that I've just taken in the placeholder. And then in this case, it's going to apply a bit of a corner effect just to put a bit of vignetting in the edges. And there you go. Action triptych, which is kind of fun, isn't it? So that works really well. That's a lovely effect. I like that. Any questions at all? For the purposes of live stream, there are still an audience here. They haven't all left. I know. I'm surprised. Okay, that's good. Let's close that down. So we've done quite a bit with various forms of ambient light. We're going to do a little bit now with flash, because I love flash. But before we get into flash, I really need to explain what flash is and how it works. So I'm afraid it's back into PowerPoint for a few minutes, because we need to cover the essentials. Okay. So here we are, flash. Flash photography. By flash photography, I don't mean, wow, that's flash. I mean, we're going to use flashes. That's the key. And flashes come in a whole bunch of different sizes and shapes, and it should have changed on your screen, which is coming, apparently. There you go. So all sorts of different sizes and shapes. The flash pointer sponsoring this talk, but I just happen to use flash points in my photography. So these are lights that I use on a daily basis. There is, for me, 3 types of flash. There is your speed lights, there is your studio type heads, and then there's the hybrid lights, the things that are neither one or the other. And I used to use, and I still do use, the Flashpoint Streak Light 360, but that's being largely replaced by the Evolve 200, which I absolutely love that light. So I'm using all sorts of different lights for all sorts of different photographic reasons. How many of you have got access to any sort of light, anything like that? Okay, let's see a little show of hands. For the live stream, that was everybody. Or something. Okay, so some of you have and some of you haven't, and that's fine. The one I'm going to use mostly is the Evolve 200 from Adorama. I love this light. It's really changed my photography and works really well. But if that's a little bit hot for your money, then check out the Flashpoint Zoom. That is a great light. I've used these little lithium-powered lights, speed lights, for many years, and they've been, up until this point, very reliable. I'm not saying that they're not going to be, it's just I will jinx it if I say they've never gone wrong. Just know that's what will happen. So why do I use flash? I use flash because I get super sharp shots, and I'll prove that to you in just a second. You'll never, ever get a sharper shot than you do with flash. I use flash because I have total control of light, and like many photographers, I'm a little bit of a control freak. I like to be in control of as much as I can. I think there's a few photographers around like that. Camera settings. What camera settings do I need? What I'm looking for is a shot in manual mode. When I don't take a picture, I get that. That's the favorite thing to see. It means one of two things. It means either I've overpowered all of the room lights and I can't see them affecting my picture, or I've broken the camera. Could be either. I don't know. It's usually I've got rid of all of the ambient light. That's kind of the whole thing, really. When the flash fires, that's what I want. It is actually the same shot. No flash. I know it's hard to believe, but flash. Okay, so that's what I'm after. No flash, the camera sees nothing. Flash, the camera sees something. So I spoke about the exposure triangle. If you add in flash, it's no longer a triangle, because in reality, correct exposure is an exposure square, or maybe diamond. Daniel, we could do the exposure diamond. It could be ours. Yeah. That's great. I think I said it first on live streaming, so that's okay. That's mine. So the exposure diamond, because that's what it is. You have 4 things that you can mess up. Oh, no, not that. You have 4 things that you can control. And that's worrying, isn't it? That's lots of areas of uncertainty and problems. So let's keep it simple. Flash sync speed. I'm going to be using manual mode. I'm going to dial in a flash sync speed of 250th of a second. I'm going to dial in, oops, I should explain why. I was going to explain why. I am going to explain why. Why 250th of a second? It's called the flash sync speed because that's the speed at which your shutter can go. That's the fastest you can have when the whole sensor is exposed to flash. And it should look like this. Press the shutter, a curtain covering your sensor opens, the flash fires, and then a second curtain shuts the sensor off to light. The fastest that can happen is the flash sync speed, and that will vary from camera to camera. Olympus, 250th of a second officially. Okay, what happens if you go beyond that? If you want to break the rules, I'm going to dial in 400th of a second. Well, when you go beyond that, the first curtain rises, the flash fires, but the second curtain is already traveling. This is how we get faster shutter speeds, by the way. It's not that the curtains move quicker or slower, it's the gap between them becomes longer or shorter. And on shorter, it's just a little slit that flies across the sensor. That's what it is. That's faster shutter speed. But if you go too fast with flash, part of the sensor is covered, and you end up with this. I had lots of these to choose from. I chose that one because I thought I timed it perfectly. It's immaculate timing. It happens. It's easy to bump settings, and you just watch for it. If you get something like that, just drop your shutter speed back down. Job done. So these are the settings I'm going to use for the rest of the evening, for the next 30 minutes. We're going to be using a shutter speed of 1/250th of a second, an ISO of 400, and an aperture of f8. Why do I want to use f8? Anyone want to tell me? It's in the middle. It's great. Sharpest. Yeah, they are all absolutely correct answers. The other answer is because you've got to start somewhere. I like the in the middle one. It is in the middle. Yeah, start there. You can always change it, but start there. So the only thing we're going to really change is the power of the flash. So that's what we're going to do. Now, to control it, I need a few things. I need a flash trigger, which I'm hoping I've got over here. Daniel, I also need a reflector, which is in the dark on one of those boxes. You'll find a small reflector for the flash. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to be using that exact trigger, which sits on top of the hot shoe of my camera and controls the light. And it controls the light. It makes it fire, but I can also control the power of the light. Now, I need some help, but he's already doing it, so we're good to go. So let's come out of that. Thank you very much. That's the thing. That's exactly right. So we're going to take some pictures of Daniel, but before we do, we're going to show you the stopping power of flash. Now, this involves a little bit of setting things up, so I need to move a few things around, so you'll need to bear with me. Daniel, would you like to come and give me a hand? We're going to move this table. Do you want to grab one end or the other? Lovely. Thank you. And we're going to move it forward. That's pretty good. Then we're going to get a little bit of this. I'm going to need an A-clamp. Perfect. I like this, you see. I need an A-clamp. Boom. Okay. Actually, it might stay by itself, but I was worried it was going to roll down, but that's it. Lovely. It's good. And then we'll raise this up. And I'm going to need a kiddie pool. Or for those watching in the UK, a paddling pool. That's what we call them. Okay, so do you have one? I do. That's lucky. It's in Adorama blue as well. Look at that. That's themed. Okay. So if you'd like to... no, we're not getting in. It's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to photograph something in there. Now, this is the lighten up talk. So we're going to lighten something up, and the thing we're going to light up is a light bulb. So that's what we're going to do. Now, we need to grab something on there, and we'll pop something on there so you guys can see it. So the plan is really simple. I'm going to put a light behind, shining through the tracing paper screen that we've got here, and then we're going to photograph the end result. Now, to make that happen, I need a couple of bits and pieces that hopefully I have hidden at the bottom of my box. Fantastic. Okay. Now, in an ideal world, I would have a black glossy surface for this. I have a black floor tile that works really well. Adorama sells some black acrylic tiles, but they're out of stock. So, I'm no doubt they are wonderful. So instead, I'm improvising, because that's what we do as photographers. We kind of get on with the job. And I'm improvising by using one of my CDs, my own DVDs. So that should be fun. And all I'm going to do is stick the light bulb down onto the disc using a piece of blue tack. I'm just going to tack it into place as well as I can. That looks pretty good. Okay, happy with that. Then we're going to frame this up using Daniel's camera. Here we go. I'll put it back into autofocus mode, because otherwise it won't focus. I've just realized what's going wrong. And we're going to come really close. Move that a little bit. The kiddie pool is here because we're going to add some water to the scene, and it doesn't really take a genius to work out what might go wrong. Water all over the stage isn't a good way to sort of get halfway through, because it could get pretty messy. Right, that's good. Then we need... Have they turned up?
Possibly. This is way.
Wow. Turns out they're in stock. That's service for you, you see. That's amazing. You want it hand-delivered? We've got you covered. Okay. I'll set the light up whilst you're doing that. This is a great live stream, by the way. This is wonderful. If you're watching this on afterwards, I'd skip the next sort of 3 minutes. On live audience, you're out of luck. Okay, so whilst Daniel's doing that, I will fiddle around with the light. So I'm going to be in manual mode. Can anyone remember the settings that I just said I was going to use? How come you guys are not asleep? That's brilliant, well done. Okay, so F8 and all of those settings. We'll turn on the flash. Lovely, that is seriously bright. So we'll turn that down. I'll pop it over to the screen so you can see what I'm seeing. Okay, so I think that's a little bit bright. Now, we're going to use a flash meter in a little bit, but this is one of those moments where I actually want to do it by eye. Okay, I'd rather have it that way around. There you go. Okay, can you see where we're going? Okay, so we've got a backlit scene with a nice little bit of tracing paper coming through. Gives us that nice white background. There's a bit of vignetting there. If we had a bigger surface, you've done one side or both sides? Oh, yeah, that's one side would be plenty. Yeah, we may have to return it. Stick it back on. I mean, this could be, that's... Right. Now, you've done a good job there. That's excellent. Yeah, I barely noticed. Okay. So we'll pop that on there. That's better. Oh, well done. Thank you, Adorama. Much appreciated. Right, that gives me a little bit more freedom of movement. I have a bit more space to play with, which is lovely. Okay. So that's pretty good. I'm going to drop my ISO down. Having said I wouldn't change it, I'm actually going to drop it down to 200. I think we're going to get better. Yeah, there we go. We can start to see a little bit more of that background. That's pretty good. And we're going to drop this down as well. So I've got everything in place. What I want to do is I want to pour water over the light bulb. Yeah, that's kind of crazy thing to do, but that's what you do as photographers. You think, yeah, what can I do that's a little bit crazy? I know, pour water over a light bulb. Now, I say I'm going to do it. Okay, Daniel, going to need a hand here. You are going to be pouring some water over that. Okay, I'm going to put this into, it is on continuous shooting. Yep, we're good to go. Are you ready? Okay, you're going to pour some water gently onto the top of that. Go for it. Go for it, that's fine. Okay, a little gentler than that, much more gentle, because I need the water for the break. Okay, hang on, let's see if I can multitask.
Oh, he's better than
I may have done this once or twice. There we go. We might get a little higher up. There you go. If you're not getting any splashes, you're not doing it right. Are we okay? Is it out of focus? That's because I touched the screen. It's got a touch-sensitive screen. Damn it, those were the best ones. Again, this is where you need a Daniel to pour it. Do you want to pour it from a little higher up? Yeah, okay, go for it. A little higher up, go for it. There you go. Higher up, higher. Can you see why we've got the kiddie pool now? That's the way. Perfect, I can see what I needed. And I've still got some water left. And the battery's failing on the camera, so that is great. Okay, so thank you, Daniel, for your help on that one. You're not done yet. Don't give him a round of applause. He's got a lot more to do. Because what I need is all of that off the stage. So, yeah, where you go, that's fine. Yeah, this whole thing. The power of the flash. The question was, what's the power of the flash I'm using? It's at its lowest possible power setting. So 1/128th is the power that we're using there. And the reason for that is the low power means that the flash lasts for an incredibly short period of time. The end result is that you end up with these amazing frozen in time moments. Okay, so you have just this lovely, lovely moment in time, which is incredible. It's frozen solid. It's a moving thing, but flash freezes motion. That's why your pictures are never sharper than when you use flash. Okay, so they look great. They really do. Let's pop that out of the way. And we'll go find one of those shots. I beg your pardon, I missed that. Is that the only thing? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's designed for dressmakers. I'm not a dressmaker, but it's really useful for having a background that's going to be disposable. And we've got about 5 yards of that now, so... you make some dresses? Yeah, so I think maybe we'll do an Adorama TV video on dressmaking next. So obviously you want a little bit of clarity in there, and really, other than that, there's not much else I want to do with that picture. It kind of looks great straight out of camera. The quality is phenomenal. The detail is incredibly sharp. Flash just has this wonderful ability to freeze everything. Yeah, the table can go too. Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other questions at all? Sorry. Zoom, good question. Was I using a zoom on the flash? No zoom on the flash. In fact, this one doesn't have a zoom head. This is what's known as a bare bulb flash. So it just has a bare bulb. So there's no kind of zoom at all. So if you were using a zoom, then you'd end up with a different shape of light. So where I had a sort of roundish shape, thanks to the background, thanks to the reflector, if you use a speed light, you'd have a rectangular shape of light. So keep it wide is the answer. Okay, so flash can freeze things, but also flash can be used in portraits. And I use flash in my portraits all the time. So first thing to do is swap over battery, because that one is flat. It's already done quite a day. Yes, I use a light meter all the time. We're going to get to a light meter. With that one, not really, because the flash is as low as it can possibly go anyway. So I'm kind of at the bottom of my flash power range. And I like to do it by eye for that particular shot. There's no reason why you can't use a flash meter. Just for me, for that shot, I'm kind of happier like that. Daniel, okay, need a hand. I need a couple of things from you. First thing I need you to do is undo that so I can change the battery. Fantastic. Just spin it around. Great. Pop that battery out. Pop this battery in. Okay, tighten that back up again for me. I'm definitely getting a Daniel at home. This is terrific. Are you available on the Adorama store? No? Okay. So Daniel's now going to help me with a little bit of modeling. So let's get a modeling stool up for you. Here we go. Lovely. That's so lovely. Marissa was on this earlier. So we'll make it a bit taller for yourself. There you go. That's great. Right, okay, so let's set this back up again. I know. So this should be fun. So I'm still using the same settings. We're getting heckled from the audience. Is that normal in New York? Do you normally get... I tell you, in the UK, they're like silent normally. Unless they've got a pub next door, and then it's a little more heckly. Right, okay. So let's find the... Okay, so I'm still at the same settings. Remember my settings: f8, 250th of a second, ISO 200. So 400 is what I said I would use, and I will be good to my word. Okay, so let's just see what we get at those settings. Whoops, without the flash firing. And not at 10 frames a second, because I don't need that many pictures of Daniel in my life. Okay, so I think you'll agree that's possibly the best picture of Daniel today. It's a little deceptive on the screen here. Now, ideally, I would like that to be black, but we'd have to turn the lights out for the rest of the session, so I'm going to live with that. But when you're doing this at home, you want that shot, no flash, to be as dark as you can get it. There is actually a picture there. It's not completely black. And if we go and find it, then we can just sort of up the exposure a little bit. And, you know, we can see there is a shot there. It's almost rescuable. That's actually... It's not the worst picture I've ever taken. I mean, it's close, but it's not the worst. Okay, so that's nice. Yes, of course you can, yeah.
When you said that you start out where the shot looks totally black.
Yes.
And you do that for what purpose do you do that?
Okay, so the question is, I start out with it completely black, and the purpose is really simple. I want to make sure that the room lights are not contaminating my flash. In other words, I'm controlling flash, but I'm not controlling the room lights. As you can see, I can't control these. So I want to be in control of the picture, and that means being in control of the light as much as I can. Okay, so we're looking good. Let's get a flash on Daniel. So this is the Evolve 200. In its little box, soft box, the Glow 28-inch softbox from Adorama, which, if you're in the UK, is 70 centimeters, just to be clear. So let's get that set, and we're going to meter. Okay, so we could, of course, just do trial and error, but this is where it goes wrong, you see, because if I get this right, and I kind of say, okay, let's go with something like that, well, that's not bright enough, is it? So let's make that a bit brighter. And this is the fun of trial and error. Oops, that's getting there. That's pretty close, maybe a little brighter. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a little time-consuming, because I don't put my light here. This isn't where... When I'm teaching flash to new photographers, this is one of the problems I find with new photographers and flash, and I did it. They start with the camera here and the flash around about arm's length away, as if someone was going to steal it and run off with it. Like, oh, I've got it. No, it's not going to happen. So this is a fine position. There's nothing wrong with putting it here, but if I'm shooting a headshot, my go-to, ultimately safe but usable lighting is getting the light as close to the subject as I possibly can. And when they say, ow, I back it up. Okay? So that's pretty good, something like that, okay? And if I move the light, I'd have to do that whole trial and error process again. That's where the flash meter comes into its own, because I can set this to ISO 400, 250th of a second, and I can pop it underneath Daniel's chin. Now, if they're an experienced model, they won't mind you reaching in, but the number of times I've done this where I say, I'm going to pop this under your chin, I reach in and they try and take the flash meter from me. It happens all the time. Yeah, because it's a lovely flash meter. So I'm going to pop it under your chin, Daniel, but I will be holding it. Okay? Just so you know. Here we go. And I point the little dome at the light source, and it tells me F14. So I could dial in F14 and get a correct exposure, but we're shooting at F8. So let's force the light to F8 by adjusting its power down. Let's see if we can get there in one go. Oh, how annoying. F9. So close. Confirm? F8, yes. Okay, anyone can see that, but it's F8. And that's what I use a flash meter for. I use a flash meter for making the flash bend to my will. Is that a bit strong? Okay. So the lights in here are kind of washing out our screens a bit, but that is a fairly good portrait. It's nice, safe lighting. It's up close. The closer you get the light, the bigger it appears from the subject's point of view. Therefore, the softer it appears, the more flattering, the more they're going to thank you. Thank you. There you go. It's good, yeah. It's a good job you haven't got a microphone. Just realised no one can hear you on the live stream. I can say anything. Yes. Okay, there we go. That's good. I like that. That's lovely. We could do this for the entire live stream. Why do we bother with the other bit? We're just stuck with this. Okay, so that's kind of good. I like that. I said earlier I'd show you a black and white way that works better. So if you have a shot where you want to do black and white, particularly for portraits, let's grab a nice, safe one, something like this. So to go black and white, I'm actually going to use the HSL stroke grayscale tab. This guy right here, HSL grayscale. And I'm going to come and use convert to grayscale and then just bring the oranges. That's the color of skin tones. Not too far down because it looks kind of weird, but that will control the luminescence of the skin tones in the picture and makes for a nice black and white picture. And you can just fine-tune it by maybe adjusting the shadows or the highlights or the clarity, softer clarity. We've got 20 minutes with Daniel. I want him to like me for the next 20 minutes, so let's flatter him with some nice, soft clarity. Okay, that's pretty good. I like that. Okay, so that's fine, but it's not really an exciting portrait. So what we're going to do is try and make something a little bit more exciting. And, well, we did the triptych earlier. We did the lighting of the Zippo. I think we could do another triptych now. What should we do? Let's see what I've got in my box. Okay, so we have something in here. Ready? I'm ready. All the way from the UK, because I don't have them in New York. I know. Honestly, I walked round, I got off the train at Penn Station, and within a block, I'd seen everything in a shop window that I'd bought with me. It's like, apart from the length of timber, yeah. There's no DIY stores in Manhattan, I've found that out. Okay, so we've got a balloon. I'm stretching it because Daniel isn't, you don't have kids, you don't have experience of blowing up loads and loads of balloons. No. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to stretch out a balloon. It just makes it a lot easier. Do you have any lung conditions I should know about? Any sort of, yeah, okay. That's black lung, that doesn't sound good. Be okay. You'll be fine. If you match the color of the balloon, we'll stop.
It's in black and white.
There you go. You're going to blow it up. So first of all, before he blows it up, I've got to set everything up correctly. So I'm going to shoot this again in its upright format because this is going to be a triptych. It's going to be 3 images of a connecting theme, and I'd like them all on one sheet. So I'm going to go for a nice kind of upright format shot. Next thing to do is perhaps move the light back a little bit because we're going to need a little bit of room. Okay. And we'll meter for the light because I've moved it. Every time you move the light, you re-meter the light. It helps with your accuracy, and it slows you down, and you get time to think about what you're doing. So let's go with that, and we're going to go increase that back to F8, because it cost us 2/3 of a stop. There you go. Amazing. One little movement, 2/3 of a stop. And we should be there. Let's double check. Oop, button. Yeah, and again, you can confirm we are back to F8, so we're still shooting at F8. Okay, we'll take a test shot of Daniel. Lovely. Looks good to me. Happy with that. I may just move that around slightly. Got him perfectly there. Okay, so Daniel, what you're going to do is you're going to blow the balloon up. I know, it's exciting, this, isn't it? I know, you've come all the way out for this. Okay, live streaming Daniel blowing up a balloon. It's amazing what people will watch. Did I say something wrong? There's this kind of English-American thing where occasionally I say something that seems fine and it turns out to be really rude, so... so I apologize for anybody for my, I don't know, whatever I said. Okay, so in your own time, yeah? Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so, yeah, you can do another puff. Okay. That's as much as puff as you've got? No, that's fine. Okay, I like that. That's good. Okay, that's fine. Have you done the squeaky thing where you make it go squeak? Yeah, that thing. That's it. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, that's great. I didn't want to photograph it. I just like the sound. It's just fun. That's how it works, isn't it? Okay, so, if you want to blow that back up again for me, that would be good. Okay. Whoa. No, blow, don't suck. You guys need translators into English. It's really... I think I got that one. Oh, that's... despair at my fellow photographers. Okay, yeah, a little bit more. We need some more air. It's got to be... It'll go larger, inflatable. I can't see your eyes. So, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to get your eyebrows as high as they go, but I suspect that's it, actually. That was already pretty high. That's not bad, okay? That's good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, will it go any bigger? Okay, yeah, that'll do. That's fine. Okay. Shall I tie it up for you, or would you like to tie it up? Oh, this man's got talent. Talents. Are we going to pop it? Well, that depends. Oh. Yeah, do you have any heart conditions I should know about? I mean, it's like a full medical check, this, isn't it? Yeah, we're going to give it a pop. Oh, yeah, by the way, if you've got any heart conditions, it's going to be fun. But before we do, you're going to hold that. You're going to give it a little squeeze between 2 hands. Okay. Give it a little squeeze. Okay, a little lower for me, a little lower. Okay, and what we need a bit of a grrr. Give it a good squeeze. A little lower, because I can't see you. That's it, a little lower. Keep going down. That's it. Perfect, thank you very much. Good. Right, and then we're gonna give it a little burst. So you're gonna give it a gentle squeeze. Okay. I'm gonna put this into high-speed flash because I'm good at catching these, but I don't think I can catch it in one click. Okay. Okay, whoops, wrong button. I did bring a spare balloon, so, if it all goes horribly wrong... Is it blue? It's, no, red. Oh, okay. Got to be a red balloon, isn't it? That makes sense, I guess. Oops, I've just pressed something on my camera, which is... I've just taken 60 frames per second. I think. And there's no way out of it. Boom, boom, boom. Ah, there we are. Okay. That's a lot of frames. Okay, we're good to go. Right, so you're going to give it a little squeeze. Okay. I'm going to burst the balloon. Okay.
Should I look surprised?
Do you look surprised?
I know what's going to happen now, so I don't know if I should show you.
What do you think is going to happen? You think you know what's going to happen?
I think it's going to pop.
Yes, it's going to pop. This is why Adorama pay you the big bucks. Okay, give it a little squeeze. Okay, I'll be fair to you. I'll count you down, and we'll go 1, 2, 3, pop. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for reminding me about the focusing. Let's make sure it's not a manual focus. Okay.
I can only take one of these.
Okay. Okay. You ready? We're going to go 1, 2, 3, pop. I didn't say I'd pop it on 3. I just said I'd go 1, 2, 3, pop. You know. It's actually caught in your hair. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we need to make that triptych. So let's go find those images, of which I have far too many. Obviously, we want to have one where it's in your hair, where you're going like that. We're going to go with one where you're blowing it up. I like that one. There's got a bit of aggression for you. And that one with your eyes wide open. So we'll grab those 3 images. Are they coming up? Yes, they are. That's good. Very quickly, because we're really short of time, we'll just add a bit of clarity into there because, well, we can now. I don't mind. Maybe pull the vibrance down a little bit. We'll crop these to a 16:9 format, a very tall, thin format. And because I updated Photoshop the other day, it's not got my overlays. That's what I want. Okay, and we'll try and get these so your eyes are roughly in the middle, give or take. Yeah, it moves around. That's fun. Oh, I've got my hand in it. Oh, we'll have to live with that. That's joys of live, isn't it? So we're going to open those up. Okay, and we'll bring those in. It's coming. 1. I know, it's that exciting, isn't it? 2 and 3. Okay, so we've got the 3. We'll go do a very quick triptych as well. So I'm using the same triptych actions that I used before. This time we're just going to go with a basic white background triptych. Again, it'll go and get the 3 images, load them in, and create a little action sequence, which is kind of fun, isn't it? Expressions, when you're doing your portraits, expressions are obviously sometimes the key to a great shot. So that looks really good. Right, so we're nearly at the end. We've got one more bit to do. I know, it's so sad. And it involves just adding in an extra light. So let's grab a second light. Okay, lovely. Like that. Okay, I'll bring this in behind you. So we've lit Daniel from the front. We're going to add a light in behind, and I'm going to put some light in behind. Now, I could just put a light on here and just light this bit, but how long have we got? We've got about 3 minutes. Then we'd overrun. But we're actually going to do it the other way around. We're going to, yes. I can do it. I'm right for time? Yeah, that's great. Okay. Okay, so we could light from behind, but we're going to go this way anyway. We're going to pop it this way and light this way around. Okay. So I've got a second light in the setup now. I'm going to turn it on and have it a little bit more powerful. So it's on, it is set. We don't need 10 frames a second anymore. That's not required. Let's go back to normal shooting. And if I go back to the screen that you guys can see, here's what happens when you put a light behind Daniel. He has this wonderful angelic halo, which is really nice. That's kind of fun. I like that. Now, I play around with my backgrounds. If you were here earlier, you'd see me with Marissa changing the background color, making it black, making it white, adding some gels. We did the whole works with this. But there's one thing that I do in my studio that is a little different to all of that, and that's texture. I like having texture in the background. And I have a whole textured wall in my studio, but if you don't have that, you just have a plain gray, black, or white background, you can create texture from thin air. which is what we're going to do. Okay, so we have some atmosphere aerosol. Anyone tried atmosphere aerosol? A few of you, yeah, okay. This is great. So this stuff is sort of like magic smoke. It's magic because when you use it, you can't blooming well see it. And you think, what did I just spend the money on? Because it's almost invisible to the eye. It's not invisible to flash. Flash is going to make this come alive. Let me just check my settings. I'm going to pop my flash a little brighter. Let's bring it up to 1/8 power. And I'm going to put a little bit of this. What's it called? It's called Atmosphere Aerosol, available from Adorama. It's brilliant. I'm sorry. It's not hairspray. I'm not spraying it on your hair. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to spray some of this in behind. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to run around and take the same shot. Okay. So from nothing, we suddenly have a little bit of smoke. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I really want to do it the other way up, and it'll hang around for a little bit. We'll have a little bit of smoke in the air. Not so much there, but yeah, the ventilation in this place is pretty good, clearly. But I was thinking that what we need is we need some reason to do this. We can't just spray smoke behind Daniel and then think that's going to be enough. Set his hair on fire. Only in New York. Wasn't thinking that. I'll be honest with you. I've got to get some stuff from my box. You stay there. You talk to the audience. Oh, it's a long way. I went all the way back to the UK to go and get some stuff just for you. So we have a few things here. So I'm thinking that this would look good if we gave it a bit of a theme. I like doing themes in my shoots. So I've got a hat for you to wear. There we go. If you'd like to, let's try that on. Yeah, we are going to need you to take your glasses off, unfortunately. So, but you might want to do that. Look at that. It's a perfect fit, isn't it? It's perfect. Yeah, it may have got squashed in the suitcase on the way over. That's kind of good. We've got this for you to wear as well, which is, yeah. If you want to put an arm, there's a little hole there if you want to put an arm through there. Oh, I'll tell you what, actually, you've got kind of a shirt on that's not going to go. Do you want to just pop this T-shirt on for me? You need to take the hat off. Okay. It's, there you go. Yeah, if you'd like to just stick that on. We thought this would be your size. My wife Sam chose this for you. Hope you like it. Extra small. That's better. Yeah, some brown that kind of works. Now the hat. Then the cape, which is that's kind of fun. Then what happened to the hole? No, but Sam did modify this just for you. She spent ages doing a little bit of seam work. Made some holes for your arms. That's kind of fun. Then that goes across there. There is a Velcro. There's a hidden.
Did they have Velcro back then?
They did have Velcro in whatever times this isn't. There it is. Okay, so we'll just get you. We'll get you sorted. That's pretty good, isn't it? That's not bad. Okay, if you want to have a seat for me again. Notice you're wearing a watch. It's not really in keeping, is it? And a bunch of different bits and pieces. You can take the watch off, can't you? Sure. And you're giving that away as a prize? Wow. Okay, should we... the other hand, we've got the pink stuff, so we'll just kind of... You can take that off. So accommodating.
All of it?
No, we'll cover you up. That's fine. Whatever time period this was liked having... plastic rubber bandy things all over you. It was very common back then. There you go. I think that's better, isn't it? That covers you up quite well. Okay, let's see how we're doing. So let's just take a picture so everybody can see where we are. Okay. So this is kind of looking. It's the new Daniel, isn't it? Okay. The new Daniel is looking pretty epic. What do we need? What have we got in this box? We've got some stuff in the box. One of these boxes. Oh, look at that, yeah. They wouldn't let me bring it on a plane. So we had to order it in. Is it an axe? You haven't got your glasses on. You can't see, can you? Yeah, that's brilliant. Yes, it is a little, it's axe-like. Okay, I kind of felt that was, yeah, that's more like it, isn't it? Yeah, you're going to kind of, so you're going to rest it on your shoulder, and then you're just going to have that, like that. That's it. You can use the other hand as well. That's brilliant. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so, so what we need now is a bit of atmosphere in the background, isn't it? So I think to really set this off, I need an assistant to come and help. Alana, do you want to come and help? We're going to get somebody from Adorama, one of his work colleagues. I think is... Okay, do you want to give Alana a round of applause? Woo. So have you set fire to Andrew? I'm going to call you Andrew. To Daniel before? Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to give that a good spray, about 2 seconds. 1, 2, and like that. Okay. Okay. Go for it. In your own time. Oh no, I'm not going to count you down. Not going to trick you. Go for it. That's it. A little bit lower. That's great. That's marvelous. So that gives us a nice kind of moody effect. I like that. We may have to put the axe on the other shoulder. Okay. So it actually gets some light on it. That makes sense. Okay. Now, to make this work, we need that emotion in Daniel's face. And emotion is going to come because we're going to ask Daniel to give us a bit of a yell. So it's going to be, ah. Bit of a, ah. I warn you, if you're on audio, I might do the audio in at this moment, because we're going to be a, ah. Okay, it's real, ah. Now, it's really embarrassing to do this on your own on a stage in front of everybody, so you guys are going to help. Okay, so we're all going to make the sound. We're all going to go, ah. Can we try that? 1, 2, 3. Well, that was quite good, wasn't it? That was quite good, that. Okay, Alana, are you ready with the spray? Okay, audience, are you ready with the R? Okay. They're keen, aren't they? Are you right? Yeah, you're going to be looking at the camera. Okay. Yeah, I'm over here. Okay. That's it. It's not the look we're going for, is it, really? Okay. Are you ready, Alana? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Give it some spray. Okay, audience. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So, Daniel. So you need to drop your chin forward. Lean in towards me. If you lean, I have to move the light, of course. Okay. And then eyes back to me. I'm up here. That's the way. Okay. Ready. Give us some smoke. 1, 2, 3. That's better, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So we're going to do this one more time. I'm going to drop that background light down a little bit because it's looking a touch bright for my taste. And Daniel, this time you are going to get your eyes super wide. Okay? Ready. Give us some smoke. 1, 2, 3. That's the one. There's the shot. Okay, brilliant. I love that. Okay, give him a round of applause. Thank you. You can take that off, that's fine. Or you can wear it for the rest of the evening. Okay, so whilst Daniel's getting himself sorted out, we'll do a very quick edit on that shot just to wrap up. We'll come out of that. We'll go find the image. Let's grab that last one. That looks good to me. Okay, so that's the shot. Is it in focus? Yeah, that's in focus. That looks good. Obviously, it needs clarity. That's a given. Okay, we're going to put a bit of contrast in there. I'm going to play around with the adjustment brush and add a bit more clarity over here. That's not clarity, that's dehaze. There you go. We're just going to add a touch more clarity in there. Maybe just fiddle around with the exposure a little bit. Oh, there you go. That's better. Let's see if we can open up the shadows a little bit on that as well. There you go, just bring some detail out of that if there is any. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I'm happy with that as a shot. That looks good to me. There's one more thing I want to do, and that's just change the time of day. I'm going to bring the temperature down into the cold side. Earlier on, we were talking about the exposure. It's right if you say it's right. White balance is no different. If you want a cold-feeling shot, you can have a cold-feeling shot. I don't want to do that. I want to do it globally. Oops. Come out of that. There we go. You can have a cold-feeling shot. There's no reason to say that the right white balance is the only right balance. You can have whatever you like. Okay? So that just adds a nice little bit of cold feel to that. We'll open that image up. And then was there a question? No? Oh. The very last thing I want to do is a little bit of editing, but because we're really short of time, I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm going to go to Filter, and I'm going to use something called Nick software. Yay! We've got one Nick supporter. Is anyone else using Nick software? It's brilliant. It's free. And it works at the moment. So use it whilst you can. I'm going to use Analog Effects Pro, and we'll do a quick edit in Nick software, Analog Effects Pro, to give this a kind of a rougher, grittier feel. Nick software is showing its age a bit now. It's been around for a long time and it hasn't really changed. So it's not the quickest bit of software in the world. I'm going to use one of the presets for speed. We'll use classic camera number 7. I'm going to jump into the dirt and scratches and give this a much more kind of dirty, scratchy look. Okay, that's a lovely kind of texture. It adds a bit of oomph to the shot. I like that. There's a bit of texture that I don't want, so I'll just apply a control point and just remove that bit, which looks a bit weird from the shot, and also a control point anywhere on Daniel's face, just so we have no kind of weird stuff on his face. That's good. Okay, click on the OK button, and that should apply the effect. The effect isn't going to be desperately strong, but it should be a little bit different. Just give it a bit more contrast, a slightly colder feel, and a little bit more kind of texture. It adds a little bit, almost like a smoky feel to the shot, which I will show you once we get past that last little slider. It's coming. It's there. There you go. That's great. Okay, and you can see how that just adds a little bit of this sort of gritty, almost like bits from a fire floating up, which I kind of thought was in keeping with this shot. So there we go. That's the final shot of the evening. I think that is very different. Good work. And just to pull us back to where we were, we had really nice, simple lighting, if I can find it, and get it on your screen. Let's one more go. It should pop up. It's coming. There we go. That's the same guy with the same lights. It's just the difference is coming up with ideas, experimenting, trying things out, finding what works and what doesn't, and being brave enough to have a go. So I'd like to thank Daniel for being my model. He did a superb job. I'd like to thank Olympus for sponsoring the event. I'd like to thank Seconic and Paul, who sat here all the way through it and is still available at the end to answer your questions from Seconic. Thank you very much, Paul. Give him a round of applause. Obviously, Adorama and Flashpoint for putting this on, but the biggest thank has to go to you guys for actually staying all the way through and sitting here and enjoying it and being part of the event. So thank you very, very much for listening, and it's great to meet you all, and I wish you all a safe journey home. Thank you very much. And the live stream guys, thanks for watching it live as well. Thank you very much. Take care.